I don't know which one of the three camera lenses I'm meant to be looking at. Okay, anyway, we'll go with the middle one, bottom one. So the last 24 hours rather have been good, in the sense of sales and business development. Yeah, I kind of said I think one of the key messages I was trying to get across in the last video or two was the importance of patience, and yeah, I mentioned a quote about impatience and laziness, etc. And I feel for me, what I saw in the last day or two has been kind of interesting in the sense that there's just been an influx of people interested in having a conversation with me, which is obviously brilliant. It's fantastic, actually. People from all over the world, which is really exciting. So, yesterday I had a call of someone based in Canada, Vancouver specifically. Today I've had a call of someone at the other side of Canada in Toronto. I have a call later with someone in California. Um, call someone in London, and I've got a call with someone in New York tomorrow. So there's a lot happening. I think for me personally, this is just an example of how I've always taken the attitude that your expertise will travel. Like if you're good at something, you should be good at it in Australia, in Canada, in England, in Scotland, wherever it is. I'm based in Dublin in Ireland. That does not mean that I can't work with people outside of this country. And I think what's been really interesting to me in a lot of ways is that I came from an agency where we were almost, we were all in on maybe the US market because it suited, I suppose, both the people we worked with on one side of the table and the people we worked with on the other. So for context, it was an influencer marketing agency. The creators were largely based in the US or would largely have US audiences. Equally, the brands we were working with were in the US as well, so they wanted to target the US market. Um, but I always felt that we were based in Ireland, and people were always shocked whenever we said that we don't have really have any Irish clients. It was almost like a bad thing. But why would we? If I suppose, the people we were working with, the influencers or the creators, had their audiences largely in somewhere that wasn't Ireland. So, in my case, I'm working with agency owners. To be honest, I don't mean, unfortunately, and it's something I'd love to change. I don't speak any language apart from English. So if you can speak English, I can probably help you. There's a lot more to it than that. But my point there would be I'm speaking with people across the world. I feel confident, and I'm not put off by your location. If you tick certain boxes to begin with, I can qualify you, and as we have conversations, I can hopefully figure out for sure if I can help you or not. And it doesn't matter where you're based. Time zone, of course, you could make the case that could be interesting, could be more challenging in some cases than ours. I completely respect that, and I think it's probably something that I'll just have to see how it goes. To be honest, I don't really know the answer. I mean, again, in previous businesses, I've worked with people in Australia, LA, Hawaii, even, um, and it's been fine, but it's been different work. So it might mean I'm having a client call at like 8 or 9 p.m. Irish time, and it's a question of do I want to do that? I think I do. If it's for the right person and the right business. Um, but yeah, just something I'm gonna have to figure out, I guess. And if you're an agency owner, sorry, if you're a business owner watching this, doesn't matter what your business is. Truthfully, in my opinion, if you're watching this and you have a business, and let's say just for the sake of the argument, you're based in London, please don't feel like, and really, I'd really encourage you not to feel like you just have to work with businesses in London. Now, there are certain things where maybe you do. Maybe if you have an actual shop, it's hard. But even then, you can set up an e-commerce store. Um, my point is just being that it's a big world, and contrary to the saying that it's a small world, it's a big world in terms of opportunity. And if you're an agency, for example, that's based in London, and you just feel like you can only really target businesses based in a certain radius from where you are, you're just limiting yourself unnecessarily. Um, Almost all the clients I work with, I have this conversation quite early on. I ask the question, okay, so who are you trying to work with and who are your current clients? And they'll say pretty much along the lines of, oh, they're Irish based, or they're Scottish based, or they're English based. Um, and I'll just pose the question, why, have you tried to work with people in, let's say, Canada or the US? And generally no, and they'll say something along the lines of maybe I don't know how to, or we're not sure how to break into that market. And it's kind of interesting because I just think it's a massive overcomplication. Ultimately, the people in those locations need the same things. They probably need the expertise you're providing. So it's just something to keep in mind. I'd encourage you, don't feel restrained by your location if you're an expert at delivering a certain service. And again, logistical things aside, like language, maybe the service you provide in one country isn't available in another. Can't really think of too many like that off the top of my head. But yeah, anyway, it's something that's been coming up for me personally. And where has all this been coming from? Inbound via LinkedIn, or inbound because someone has, seen me view their profile, or has seen me connect with them, or liked a post, or saw some content over time and then decided to message me, or heard through a friend or saw a friend liking my post and then got in touch. So I'm beginning now to see the impact of activity on a social platform over the last 6 months, which is quite interesting to me because I've never really seen or felt this before for myself personally or for the business that I'm part of. So it's exciting, and I think, to give you an idea of the scale of that, like I don't need to have 10 sales calls a week. I have had more sales calls this week than ever in a single week before, and I'm at 10. And I think that probably gives you a very good indication of the scale I'm operating at in terms of what I need. Like, again, I've said it before, I'm not going to work with 500 agencies. I'll work with, or the ambition is for me to work with somewhere but probably between 10 and 15. And if I'm at around half a dozen at the moment, we're nearly there, which is good. But it just layers, it sets the expectation for what I need. You could make the case that if I had 10 sales calls with the right people this week, surely I'm nearly at my capacity if I can close some of those. It might play out like that. It seems unlikely. But it's definitely picking up pace, which is good. It's exciting. And these are the times, I think, that these are the weeks or these are the days where, as someone that's just still relatively new to the game of running your own business, these are the times that you get a real kick. Like, I feel good. Like, there's a bit of an energy today in terms of the work that I haven't felt maybe as much in the last couple of months because things have been a bit slower on the new business side. So that's good. And yeah, I think beyond that as well, I don't think there's anything I need to drastically change or do differently about my pitching process or the process I put a client through, or potential client through. I'll speak to these people. So let's take the 10 sales calls this week. I'll take the 10 calls. I'll offer them a discovery session off the back of that call in almost every case. Probably not one that I know of already, because they just aren't going to be a fit based on their business. So 9 times out of 10, I'll be pitching a discovery session, which is a once-off investment. That discovery session is essentially my way of establishing, can I help that business? And I need to do it for myself, but equally it's a great chance for the founder of that business to take some time away, spend time with someone that's not in their business, me, and talk through see what comes up for them, talk through the business. And really what I'll do is I'll ask certain questions, but I'll generally just have a conversation with them about their business. And it'll help me understand if I can help, but if nothing else, it will help give them a bit of clarity around the next 30 to 90 days. And that's how I pretty much, I look at this session like, yes, it's largely for me. Yes, it's part of my sales process. But it's something that a founder will most likely not take it upon themselves to do for themselves or their business. So they often need that bit of encouragement or incentive to go and do something like this for 2 or 3 hours, because that's how long it takes. So we're going to have those sessions, and then off the back of those sessions, generally it's a case of, if I feel like I can help someone, I send them a proposal, and if I can't, I send them I send the people who I do think I can work with, just minus an actual proposal. So Yeah, that's really where I'm at on that side of things. I mean, one thing I'm gonna do, I've just thought off the top of my head, and I think it'll fit nicely into a segment I'll hope to do in the future. Is I'm gonna run through pretty much that process I'm just talking about in terms of the LinkedIn slash inbound, because it's kind of been. I mean, it feels like it's the 2024 2023, probably into the future way of selling. There's been a lot of talk and whispering about social selling over the last 4 to 5 years. Some people have done it really well already. Some people sell almost entirely through content, which is pretty much what this is, I suppose. But for me personally, it's been a really interesting 6 months in the sense of it's so hard to just start from scratch and build a base of content and build a network and build a following. In the same breath, it's probably not too dissimilar to what it feels like to start selling from like scratch in relation to cold email. Like, how often do you send cold emails and get no replies for like 4 or 5 months? It happens quite often. So yeah, it's an interesting time if you're operating your own business or if you're selling in general, particularly B2B. Um, so anyway, that's really what's going on, and yeah, that's another day. We've got one more video this week, so we'll wrap up the week tomorrow. I think tomorrow could be interesting to see where we've netted out in relation to the some of the new business conversations, and yeah, hopefully we'll be able to talk through a couple of discovery sessions that I have as part of some of these videos, but we'll see. So challenge today, see if you can try and reach out to some businesses outside of your comfort zone in terms of location, and see how you get on.